Okay, so there is actually a third option. Not so much an option necessarily, but information to help you determine what road to take in terms of compliance. And that's weighing the consequences of failing to meet GDPR standards. Now, you've probably heard that there is a 20 million euro fine for failing to comply, or 4% of your gross profits, whichever is greater. And if you're a blogger, an average blogger, chances are that's a really scary number because that's not anywhere near what you're making. But there's actually different fines depending on what part of GDPR you violate or don't comply with. And so certain actions, the maximum fine is 10 million euros, or might actually also be 4%, which is still a lot and still stressful. But there is also within the GDPR outlined a proportionality clause, if you will, that basically says, the fine should be proportionate to, first of all, what you failed to comply with. Was it major? Was it minor? Were you just like, screw this, I'm not doing it? Or did you try and it just didn't quite work out? So there are factors to help sort of weigh the level of negligence or, failing to comply, if you made an effort or not. Like I said before, good faith effort. And the proportionality to your business and the size of your business in terms of any fines that may be imposed. So when you're looking at whether or not to comply, you want to take that into account. Obviously, if you're like, screw it, you're probably going to face higher fines. If you are, making some effort, or if you're blocking traffic and be like, well, they've made an effort to try to stay away from EU, so maybe there won't be any fines imposed. Who knows? We don't know. And it's not like May 25th, any site that isn't in compliance is going to be like, bam, fined. First of all, there isn't the manpower to go out and do that. There's so many sites out there, so many websites. Just think about how many bloggers you know. It's insane. So chances are the only way you're really going to get caught is if someone reports you to one of the controlling bodies that is helping to enforce the GDPR. And there's a whole lot of technical language and sort of that included in the GDPR, but what you need to know is it's better to make an effort to comply, so that should anything come up, you can show that you made an effort, or an effort to, block EU traffic. And then realize sort of what the likelihood is that someone's going to report you, or that you're going to end up in hot water. Now, that being said, there's always going to be these test cases, right, at the beginning. Like, when Napster existed, eventually a lot of lawsuits happened, right? You don't want to be a test case for GDPR. And also, the GDPR gives individuals the right to sue companies, brands, websites that, mess with their data or don't provide the right levels of protection. So even if you don't end up in trouble with authorities with a big GDPR fine, you could end up in trouble being sued in general. And so for that reason, given the consequences, you may want to look at, if you haven't already, establishing your business as an LLC, which is a limited liability company, or an S Corp or a C Corp, or something that helps to protect your personal assets should something, go wrong where you're being imposed fines or being sued. And I'll have links to attorneys and an accountant, which you should both consult to figure out which sort of corporate entity might be best for you, in the text below. So definitely be aware of the consequences so that you can determine the best course of action for you. And in terms of protecting yourself for liability purposes, I would highly recommend talking to an attorney and an accountant to help you figure out if incorporating in some way could be a good idea for you. So hopefully that helps.